together they're pretty much the same kind of caliber of people, and they're just not nice, not intelligent. They just have power. They have that meanness, a spirit of meanness of Satan, that they're willing to do things outside the bounds of common decency, things that you and I wouldn't do for all the money in the whole world. We can't sell our soul, our integrity, our honor. That's what a normal, decent human being that's tuned into the Spirit of God feels. There's certain things that just nothing. You can't trade for them. There's nothing out there. So, how this stuff all ties together is that we're living in an unreality, okay? And it's fundamental that we understand that in order to confront it, in order to ever extricate ourselves from this mess, we've got to know exactly what the root cause is, who the causers are, and confront them without condemning them, but we've got to make judgment calls. Okay, but of course, with the judgment we judge others, we too shall be judged. So it's good to not to be too hard on people. That's why I'm opposed to capital punishment, because you never know. You could make a mistake, and one mistake out of a billion is too many in my book. I don't want that on my head. And if you're okay with that being on your head, so be it. I'd much rather see, if you're going to mete out, justice, we have due process in America for one thing. But beyond that, like Moses killing spontaneously, I say I object to that much less, because it's in the heat of the moment. It's a passion play, And I don't believe in death, so you can't really kill somebody. You can just put them under the big sleep. That's all you're really doing until the resurrection of the dead, because everybody that ever lived and died will be raised back to life. That's the way the story goes. So anyhow, all these laws and rules and regulations that we have all been designed to keep humanity small and keep us pliable, malleable for the illegitimate rulers, these overlords that have taken the earth without the consent of the righteous. And that's the state of affairs today. So, for Donald Trump to change things, this could turn into a big, major thing of biblical proportion here. But something big is, evil's not just going to give up without a fight. This whole idea that, it lost this battle, but, it's got full designs on winning the war. And, that's where this battle of Armageddon comes in. And whether we're in the midst of it, and we have been for some time, I don't know. You can read the book of Daniel, the book of Revelations, and you can get some ideas of where we are in history, because there's a timeline. History is linear. Even though there's commonalities, we could say, well, history seems to repeat itself, all this. But, again, I digress constantly. But about history again, it's been said that to the victor go the spoil. So writing history is one of those things. So what history is reliable? The history you get from your Bible is probably as reliable as any, and the reason for that is many people died in order to maintain the veracity of the Bible. It's a matter of fact. If you look in history, and Seventh-day Adventists have preserved history probably better than any other group of people, and a lot of them paid the ultimate price. But this is what you've got to read about. You've got to read about the Roman Catholic Empire and how they were very authoritarian at one time, and that's why there's been so much animosity built up, is that these people were militaristic. This was a theological thing, kind of much like the Mohammedans, the Muslims. And I don't criticize any major faith, okay? I've been expecting much more violence in America because of the trouble that we've caused in the Middle East and all the association. I've got very close relatives that are from Iran, okay, ancient Persia. My former father-in-law, my former wife, is half Persian. My daughter is a full 1/4 Persian, and they have ties to the Shah of Iran, in fact, and their grandmother is buried at a cemetery in Santa Cruz off Graham Hill Road, and she was a princess, Not that I have anybody that knows me knows I have no regard for elitism or all this royalty nonsense. I just think we're all royalty because we're all children of God. But, it just goes to show that we all have people in our lineage, very close to us. My dad was a great person. He was a sea captain. He was a World War II Marine on the battleship Iowa, and he was lucky he never had to see battle. But nonetheless, he put his neck out there, and he was willing and ready to do that. He talked about shooting these 50 caliber guns off the ship, practicing, and it was pretty interesting. He was a published author, wrote a very radical book back in the 1960s. He was just very pissed off about the assassination of JFK and the direction the country was going, and he kind of turned socialist, I think, at that point. And he really thought that, that this was a Republican plan. And so I think this is where the Democrat Party took on a real socialist face. But if you look into it, you see, a truly good socialist and a truly good capitalist are really basically on the same page, because what they share in common is that they believe in equality. They're American. They believe in the Constitution. They're equalitarians, egalitarians, and they're willing to have a level playing field. And that's where I'm coming from. I want to live in peace and harmony with my fellow man all over the world. And we can have that. And we got to look squarely at the forces that have kept that from happening. And they are these militant communistic, militant socialistic, militant crony capitalistic, militant fascist groups. And they're all, to me, peas in a pod. That's it. They're all the same bunch of a-holes that are just causing trouble. That's it. That's all they've got. It's like gangsterism. They do it through fear and intimidation, getting their pound of flesh. Oh, yeah, you want this? Well, you're going to have to cross me. And that's where we're at here. And I think Donald Trump is super smart, and he knows, what an anathema, just a little thing. Oh, solving poverty, ending poverty. No, you don't understand. If people are not living in abject and utter fear of homelessness, they will not pay those exorbitant rents and mortgages. Okay, that's taxes. Those are taxes. Make no bones about it. Okay, let me be very clear. Let me not mince words. The cost of living and taxes are one and the same. Okay, and the direction the whole planet is taking is the direction California has been taking, and it's not a good one. It's an ever-increasing wealth disparity, as evidenced through a shrinking percentage of homeowners. So we're more renting, and what's going to happen at the end? I mean, when your rents go so high and you start getting old, you can't pay your rent. You're going to be dependent on the system, and they call that socialism. Oh yeah, well, we're going to Section 8 when put them in old fogies homes and all this kind of warehouse people, right? That's what the idea is. So the wealth disparity grows. You got a bunch of fabulously wealthy people with hordes of dirt poor people, just like a third world country, like China or India or Mexico or any other godforsaken nation on the face of this earth. That's what they want to do to America. They hate Americans. They hate our closeness with Christianity. I believe the greatest faith in the world is just believing in Jesus, just being a Jesus freak, going out there and just talking to people about the things he taught and how different the way the mind of men is, the way that we think, as opposed to God. Like stories of the prodigal son, for example. We're so quick to condemn and say, believe in punishment and all this, but is that what happened when the prodigal son squandered his inheritance on wild living? No. But, we're different because we've got to look to God. We're completely amoral, and none of us have any business punishing each other. How does one erring human being punish another erring human being and expect positive results? And this is what we've got: crony capitalism and socialism. This idea of taking from the haves and giving to have-nots. Of course, that causes animosity. And then the people that can afford to pay don't pay. They're like the big game out there in this hunt, and they're too hard to get. So we'll just go after the next guys down. We'll go after, make sure the poor stay really poor because, hey, we're in debt, and it's because of all these welfare recipients. But these same people saying this are the ones that created the poverty, that create the problem. Why do they want poverty? I've pointed out they've got us in fear. Everybody's in mortal fear for their lives. So if you don't conform and go along with this horrible nightmare that they've set up, they call reality, then you're going to be one of those homeless people because Section 8 is broke, busted. you might have to live somewhere, they'll warehouse you in some certain state in some section of the country because the real estate prices here are too expensive. You see, real estate's all of our business. You need real estate to survive. That's a matter of fact. Everybody's got a right to have a piece of real estate on the face of this earth, okay? You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't run people off every time they set up an encampment. Then, and you just tell them, well, yeah, you got a right to survive, just not here. And not even tell them where they can go, okay? You've got to give people an opportunity to survive. And part of that is real estate. Secure real estate where they can't be ejected, okay? That's it. That's what you've got to offer humanity. Then you can run them off your private property, your public property, whatever the case may be. Okay, but the way things are is totally untenable. Okay, and I, for one, will not consent, okay, to this current scene, man, because it's bad. Things are bad in California, and they're getting worse, and it's spreading like a cancer across the country. So when Alex Jones jokes about putting up a wall in California, hey, he's not that far off. I think it's kind of funny, even being a native Californian, but he's right to a degree. I mean, it's shameful. It's shameful. We're no state to be setting an example for any other state. No, make sure those vulture capitalists don't come into your state and start stealing your houses through reverse mortgages and all these scams, okay, that they've got set up out there, tricking people out of, oh yeah, you got equity in your house, man. Yeah, we're manipulating prices, so don't pay attention to the tax assessor. The fact that your taxes keep going up because of this. We're building up the neighborhood, gentrifying. Okay, so yes, your taxes are going up, but it's good because your property worth went up, right? So you could borrow equity and take out loans, and next thing you know, you're unemployed, you're too old, you got disabled, you can't afford your mortgage anymore. So what? You've got to rent, okay? And that's not helping anybody either, because if you're upper income and you can't afford to buy a house, okay, you're making it harder. It's just like an auction. You're making it harder for everybody else there, okay, that's just struggling to get by and keep a roof over their head on minimum wage without going on welfare. It's not helping them at all. So the whole problem is just compounded in so many ways. I mean, they're shipping off our industry and jobs, and then they're bringing in all these starving immigrants and refugees. And if that doesn't spell a recipe for disaster, I don't know what the freak does. Okay? I know Mark Dice was on the Alex Jones show I was watching recently. I'm still watching this 52-hour election special he put out. I'll be watching that probably for months to come, trying to get caught up. But Mark's so funny. He gets these interviews of people that are so damned ignorant. It's just unbelievable. It blows my mind, really. I cannot believe the stupidity of people out there. But a lot of them are tourists, and he's got it. I've been telling him, I've been commenting and trying to let him know. Ask them where they're from, because a lot of these people might be from Texas, to Alex Jones's chagrin out there. But he seems like a real nice guy, and and his videos are just funny and entertaining as heck, But he was just cackling with glee at the fact that Donald Trump has been talking to Alex Jones and endorsing the show, and he kept his promise to, after the election, he would give him a call, and he did that. And but Alex now, he's trying to give all his advice, and it's like, come on, buddy, Alex, you try that political scene. I'll tell you, I'm so far from wanting to be involved in that political scene, it's not funny. Okay, I don't know how. I can't even do what these reporters do. Blows my mind. The bravery and the chutzpah they have to go out in public and do what they do. It takes a special kind of person. I personally don't feel like I have the constitution to be confrontational. I don't like getting into arguments, and being pugnacious and the vitriol that sometimes comes up. But I see, Alex has a lot of reporters that really take it in stride. They really do good. It takes a special kind of person. It takes a special kind of talent. And my hats are off to these people. I respect them a lot. But, I could imagine some scenario where it might change and I could go out there and interview people. I might try. I've done it a little bit, but it's not the easiest thing in the world, because that's why I do this monologue, because I already know, that what's going on out there. I know I talk to enough people on a personal level, and just trying to educate people, let them know simple things, explain to them why if you had true capitalism, the worth of your currency should go up. So anybody that accuses me of being a Keynesian money printer, no, that's not it. But when you're talking about currency flow, the velocity of currency, this is what we need. So we could have a lot less currency if it was just in circulation and people weren't, oh, well, I'm just saving up. I've got to save up a lot of money to buy a house, right? More and more and more you got to save. Fewer and fewer people are ever going to be able to do that. We all know a lot of people living hand in mouth.